this committee,
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
touching the matter in issue,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth,
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you very much, Honorable Rockson Nelson Dafeamekpor, the Majority Chief Whip of Ghana's Parliament, for attending upon this committee. Honorable Chief Whip, you've just watched a video. We saw a gentleman in the African Batakari, and I also saw a policeman holding the hand of that gentleman. And we also saw the gentleman and another honorable member, holding each other's dresses. Can you confirm whether it's the same person who is sitting before us today?
Chairman, your narration is accurate.
The video that you just watched came from different sources. We invited an expert from Signal Bureau to authenticate it, and he agreed that they were all original. Can you also confirm that that video was original and it's not be dotted?
Chairman, I don't have the competence to do that, but I think that the videos depicted the events as they took place that day.
Honorable Chief Whip, can you tell this committee what really happened on that day?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Chairman, let me take the committee a bit back. Having joined the Appointments Committee by virtue of my status, the committee plans its activities ahead. So that, for instance, if the committee were to conduct vetting from Monday to Friday or Saturday, the scheduling were done the week before. So regarding the week and the Thursday and Friday in question, the scheduling had been done the week earlier. So that Monday we knew who and who were appearing before us. So it was for Tuesday and Wednesday. But sometime on Tuesday, something happened, and that was our colleagues on the other side raised an issue regarding lawyer Baker Formal, to the effect that he had made some social media posts that were contumacious of the powers of the committee, and therefore were deemed to be contemptuous of Parliament and by extension the committee. So action needed to be taken. So by and large, they even intimated that Tuesday's hearing be truncated. But I stood my grounds and said we needed to go through that day's work, and that the next day, which was to be Wednesday, we could tackle the matter. So what we did was that after Tuesday's meeting, proceedings, as it were, we met, and they simply won't let us do any work the Wednesday. They were only interested in getting Formal to appear before us. So Formal had to appear on Wednesday, no vetting. So if you recall, Chairman had to make the announcement at the tail end of Tuesdays. We had reached some preliminary understanding in between the hearings on Tuesday. So that announcement was made. So Wednesday, Formal appeared with his lawyers, and we went through the motion of interrogating the matter. At a point, I had to go to handle business on the floor. So, because my leader, Honorable Ayariga, had some other matters to attend to, so I was needed on the floor. But by and large, interrogating Formal and the issues that were germane to the matters that came before the committee. It didn't last beyond 2 hours. And so I was asking my counterpart that, you see, this process, we all anticipated that it was not going to take long. So we ought to have done some work. But we had lost the day. So obviously, Wednesday's workload will have to be taken to Thursday, the day after the Wednesday. And if we couldn't handle them, then we would have shared it between Thursday and the Friday. So when we agreed in the evening of Wednesday was that we'll take the outstandings from Wednesday first on Thursday. Meanwhile, Thursday's schedule was very heavy. We had to vet 6 nominees on Thursday. So if we were adding 3 from Wednesday, it means for Thursday, we're dealing with 9 nominees. And that was absolutely huge. So the clerk to the committee was instructed to prepare the new schedule for Thursday and Friday. And she brought a draft to me in the chamber. When I saw the schedule brought by the clerk, Thursday now had 8, and Friday had 9. So I actually took the trouble to number the nominees. That was how come I could quickly tell that we had 8 for Thursday and 9 for Friday. Then I advised that there was no way we were going to complete the 15 nominees. That would be 15, isn't it? 8 plus 9. No, that's 17. There was no way we were going to complete them between Thursday and Friday. So we should consider working on a Saturday. No, that one it was not accepted at all. So the indication was that let's handle the business as and when it comes. At the end of Friday, we'll know what to do. So we agreed to start work early on Thursday. Now, so we began work on Thursday, and we did the vetting. We did 1, 2, 3, 4. But in the morning of the Thursday, some intimations came from the Honorable Minority Leader to the First Deputy Speaker, the Chairman of the committee, to the effect that they were willing to take Honorable Akando early. So they were willing to add him to the early business for Thursday. Meanwhile, as the majority chief whip, my focus has been ensuring that we were to vet as many as we could out of the numbers outstanding for Thursday. Now, they said that we couldn't work beyond 4. I said, no. Already we had a backlog from Wednesday. So if they were insisting on doing just 4, then it means that we were also going to waste Thursday. We're not going to tackle Thursday's original business. And so I brought this matter into focus. And that was the Honorable Kujeto and the Honorable Sam George had practically begged to be heard the Monday before, but the schedule couldn't accommodate them. The chairman was very clear with me that he had already agreed with Rankin and his team, so there was no way he would tamper with the schedule by adding to the load. And so it was Tuesday. So the Honorable Kujeto had to resign himself to his fate to be vetted on Thursday. So was Sam George. And these were persons who had, from all indications, done some protocol arrangements. You know, they are massive following, chiefs and all that coming all over. But chairman won't have it. Nobody was willing to accommodate them earlier. So they were prepared to be vetted on Thursday. Only for Thursday, after vetting 1, 2, 3, for our brothers to indicate that they were most unwilling to continue with work. But Chairman, you are more senior to me in this house. But the protocols and the practices are that where a caucus constituting part of a committee are in disagreement with the position of the committee's work or direction, you make your reservations known and then you walk away. You can, even by our standing orders, we are permitted to file minority reports on some of these matters. So you could file those reports and make your views known strongly as part of the final report that would have gone to plenary. But they won't have it. And they insisted on staying and disrupting the process. So if you saw, I think it was after we had done with the Honorable Kofi Adams, if I recall. So I asked that, yeah, I think I may be missing the sequence now. But it was after I asked the Honorable Akando. After Nigbe, thank you. So after Nigbe was done with, I directed that the next nominee, which was the Honorable Akando, I believe, to take the seat. In taking the seat, just
Honorable
exactly.
Chief Whip, was Honorable Akando originally slated for Thursday? Was it part of the list?
That is so. In fact, I mentioned earlier that the Honorable Minority Leader gave indication by a phone call. He actually placed a phone call to the chairman of the committee that they want to take Honorable Akando early. In fact, they were willing to take him as part of that day's business, so to speak. So Honorable Akando, there was no problem regarding taking him for the day.
No, we just want it on record.
Yes, yes.
Honorable Akando's name was on the list.
He was. He was.
So we have a list from Honorable.
Honorable Chief Whip, let us get it clear, because we have had earlier evidence to the effect that Honorable Akando was not part of the Thursday list. And please, until the Thursday list was for 3 people. Then you recompiled your list. That's the question that the chairman wanted to know. Whether originally Akando was part of the Thursday list until you had to do a reshuffle, a rearrangement, and you then brought him. And it was on the prompting of the minority Chief Whip who stated that they now wanted to take Akando early. And that's how Akando found himself in the Thursday list. This is what he wants to clear. Thank you.
Chairman, yes, that was the earlier sequence. I mentioned that because of loading the Wednesday's outstandings onto the other outstanding work that we had, the schedule kept changing. So initially in the morning, after we had dealt with formal that Wednesday morning, the new schedule that came to me had Akando for Thursday as part of the tall chain of nominees we had for Thursday and the tall chain of nominees we had for Friday. Then later in the day, some shifting again happened. So eventually, Akando got shifted to Friday. But a call came again from the minority chief whip, minority leader himself, that they were willing to take Akando as part of the Thursday's business and also take him early. I recall this very well. So yes, we may have.
Honorable Leader,
yes.
In fact, what you just said, the chairman also confirmed same.
Yeah.
But our difficulty is that you have a schedule.
Yeah.
And then a minority leader decided that, oh, even though we have this schedule, we can allow Honorable Akanda to be vetted, but not the rest of those who are on the list. That's our worry.
No. You see, Chairman, let's place these matters in context. They were not saying that we won't vet the rest of the people. What I speak of is that the prioritization, whether a candidate will be vetted last for the day or vetted early enough in the day, is what I speak of. The change of mind occurred. The change of mind occurred in the evening. In the evening, I don't know what happened. I don't know. They went to a caucus. You know, that Thursday morning, they had some early press conference and called me all sorts of names that I was bullying them and all that. But I was, as the chief whip, I was minded to get my businesses done and on time. So my focus was getting my people to line up as and when it was necessary to call them. So the change of mind came in the evening, to be very honest with you, because we were working. But when it got to the evening, they just decided that they won't let us continue, even though as a committee or as a committee of parliament, we worked till sometimes midnight, sometimes in the wee hours of the following day. We do it all the time, given the exigencies of the time. So I got worried that out of the blue, a decision is being made to not vet persons. We had programmed the entire week. In fact, we had programmed the week before, who even pleaded to be heard earlier in the week, but we refused. And then the minority on the committee would just say that we won't hear you today. Go and come tomorrow. When they are done, we have made protocol arrangements and all. So, Chairman, you can understand. So it posed a problem for me. All efforts to get them to disengage from that position failed. And they are lined up this way. They have brought in more men, more colleagues. And if you saw from the videos, I had tried as much as possible to get my members to remain calm. But I was roving. When I cannot took his seat, suddenly he was swamped. So I came to stand by him to ensure that he got sworn in and made ready for the proceedings to kickstart. Then Charles came to support me. And then, yes, Jerry came and Charles came to support me, as it were. He stood by his right-hand side, if I recall. And I was this way, trying to get the clerk to get him sworn in. Then Jerry left, Jerry Shaib went back. Then I saw Charles in a tango with the Honorable Tampuri, yes, that's my brother's name. And there was a crack in the first table. It's been pulled apart. So there was a big crack in between the first table and the second. And because of that opening, Charles got trapped in there. And I saw his back. I was looking at his back. And Tampuri was over him. And then...
Sorry, Honorable Chief Whip, can you specify? There are two different Charleses on this.
Charles Asiru,
very well.
my brother who just took the seat. So, and Tampuri is heavier, is much heavier set than Charles. And given the situation I saw that he was in, if I hadn't rushed to rescue him from the grip, I don't know what would have happened. Because the table was firmly in place and he had his back against it. And Tampuri was over him. And so I went to extricate him from his grip. That was how come I entered the fray. And I got my fugu entangled in the fray, and I was asking, we are brothers, we are lawyers, we are custodians, we don't do this. If you disagree with the proceedings, well, brother, you walk. You don't disrupt the proceedings. Then, as if he woke up, he looked at me with a smile and let go of the fugu. Then Bawa, that's the deputy marshal, then he and his men had come in. So I was saying that we are trying to bring the situation under control, but Bawa, you can tell these are the troublemakers, so let them go. And then the policeman was also trying to help me. So he held my hand. He was trying to extricate me from the grip and so that I could leave the place. But these were things happening very fluidly, and a lot of arguments were flying all over the place. So that was what happened. And so eventually you saw my leader also trying to say that, Rock, these people don't listen to you. Leave them. Let's see how we can get the evening over. Then we can go home and come back the next day.
In our meeting, we realized that, and you were deeply involved as a member of parliament, not only heckling, but there was physical contact with Tampuri. He held your dress, you also held his dress. That's what we saw. Can you confirm whether you also, held his dress?
I don't recall ever holding his dress at all. It would have led to, because I'm also strong enough. If I had held his dress, it would have led to something. But I had my two hands up. He had the front of my fugu this way, and I had my hands up, and I was exchanging. That was when I was telling him, "Oh, bro, why do you want us to fight over this? We are lawyers, we are custodians, we don't do this." Trying to reach out to him, his deepest recesses, and eventually he smiled and let go of the fugu.
Thank you. Okay.
I felt my fugu held from like two different places. I think the front himself and somebody tagging at it from behind, but I couldn't tell who it was. Yeah.
Yes, so leader, we saw the video and we saw you move to that place. I want to find out from you, you did not go there to fight?
At all. I was never interested in, because if I initiate anything, I'll lose my opportunity to have my proceedings continued. So I was interested in having order restored. I went there, when I left Akando's side, I went there just to rescue Asiru. It was to get Asiru out of the grip of Tampuri, and then where he was trapped, practically.
From the video that we saw, and the commentary that is around that particular video, it appeared that there was fighting between you and the Tampuri. That's how we saw it in the video. You didn't fight at all?
No.
If you did not, why did Tampuri have to hold your smoke, your fugu?
Well, they were interested in not getting them any business done that day, and perhaps also because I'd come to take Asiru out of his grip. He didn't like the idea. I don't know what it was, but I'm making the point that he eventually smiled at me and let go of the fugu. So it was not a fight at all. It was.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Leader, for attending to this committee. I want to find
Thank you very much.
You heard your counterpart on the other side asking people to remove cables, tables, and the rest. And you saw how, on the other side, how, let me use this word, rowdy they have become. How come you are a whip here and you had members on our side and you didn't instruct them to also counter them?
Because you see, Chair, I was the beneficiary of the proceedings, so to speak. It's my ministers or nominees who were being processed, as it were. If I had encouraged my part of the committee to engage in the scaffold, I'm sure the events would have been recounted, would have been more terrible. I was the beneficiary, so my focus was not to get my people involved, and to make sure that even though they were intended to disrupt as much as they could, they did very little damage. In fact, the instruction that the cables be pulled and tables be pulled apart came much earlier. There was one video where you saw me having heated arguments with the minority leader himself. That was when I was telling him that what he was doing was totally unacceptable. He couldn't be instructing his people this way.
What was the instruction from the minority leader? Because we didn't hear that in the video.
The instruction was that the vetting must not go on.
Okay, we saw it.
Yes, the vetting, there will be no vetting. And of course, there will be no vetting, and that they were also not going to leave. So, other instructions came, and so tables were being raised, some sideways of the tables were being raised and dropped, raised, dropped. Eventually, the table tumbled, lost 2 legs, if I recall. Cables were pulled. All this while I was stationed this way and ensuring that we could still work until I cannot took the seat. Then I came and moved in. Even when I moved in, I don't know, those other videos didn't capture. We eventually had to move that table that lost 2 legs and rearrange the front. So where you were sitting, now we shifted another table, but we set it so it became narrow.
Yeah, we have all those videos,
okay,
but
so it became
long.
Narrow. So you saw that we eventually tried to restore some order, and was anxious that we could still proceed with the vetting. But the electronic gadgets were completely damaged. So we couldn't do anything. And that was when leader came in to say that we should call it a day.
Leader, you said you did not instruct the majority members to support whatever was going on. Are you proud of those who joined without your instruction? Are you proud of them? And let me also ask whether, if they had not joined, you think the destruction or the damage that caused would have even been more than what we experienced?
You see, Chair, in things like this, sometimes we're all human. You needed not to be instructed for you to participate positively, because you saw some of our colleagues practically lifting the seats and dumping them on the table. They'll lift a chair, dump it on the table. It happened for like 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And some even threatened pushing the chairs across to our side. Okay, provocation, but we didn't react. Then now they were lifting the tables, the side of the table, they were flipping it sort of. Now, if you don't go and restore, if you don't go and prevent that from happening, they could flip it and you may get hurt. So, yes, some of my members went there to ask it to stop the flipping of the tables, to prevent it. So they will flip it, they will bring it down. They will flip it, they will bring it down. And it was, I would rather commend them for trying to ensure that order was restored. I would rather commend my members who tried, including myself, that we were trying to restore order.
Yeah, earlier on, one of the marshals appeared before the committee, and I asked whether the intervention of some of our MPs on the majority side was helpful to restore some order here. And he said it was helpful. I also asked whether the intervention of the police officers was too late. And to him, yes, if those people had not intervened at that time, probably much damage would have been done to properties around. As a whip, why did you wait and you didn't instruct majority side to come in as early as possible to support the marshal when the police officers were not around?
The marshal the marshal had men here, and he himself, the deputy came in with the policemen. Now, at the point that the policemen came, our colleagues had massed up this way. The house is divided. The committee will sit. It used not to be the case. Previously, or in previous years, we could mingle. But now they made it a point that when we come, we align. So the majority, we align this way. The minority, they align this way. And they had moved in, even non-members, there were about 15 to 20 MPs on their side who had come in. And they had massed up. So the whole place in the area where you sit now to the left of the chairman was completely densely populated and chaotic. So to ask your men to join, you were really creating problems. So it was good that I asked my men to wait, but those who saw it fit to go prevent the lifting of the tables and the chairs and pulling out of the cables, I should commend them for taking that initiative. Because then it would have been a source for some other inquiry today that I had instructed my men to go to the side that we did not belong. That would have been the point that would have made that I caused my men to come and attack them. Because they were here, they were creating problems. If I had asked my men, they would have said, the chief whip commanded these people to come and attack them. So I'm happy I didn't do that, but I'm also happy that my men who went there didn't participate in what was the expression? In enhancing what they were doing, but to diminish it and to restore order.
Yeah, Whip, can you tell the committee in future if that should happen again, what measures would you put in place to forestall settings?
Thank you very much. I think that going forward, we should have strict protocols. Protocols already exist, practices exist, conventions exist. The caucuses that constitute committees, if you disagree with the committees, first, committee decisions must always be reduced to voting, so that somebody doesn't come later in the day and say that we agreed that we'll do this and you are doing the other thing. Once we agreed on a certain position, let us vote. It becomes the decision of the committee, not a single person's decision. That's one thing I think that we must. That is our protocol, but it appears we don't enforce it strictly. For instance, if there were votes to indicate that for Thursday and Friday, we had voted as a committee to vet 8 persons, or to vet 7 persons, or to vet 6 persons, then the evidence would have been very clear that this, when we say a decision was taken or a decision was not taken, it is the votes that will speak to it. And then,
excuse me, just a quick one. I know that is the ideal situation, yes. But
so
a situation that a minority taking a decision that they will not abide by the rules of the game, and they will always want to go by that tangent. What are we doing?
Now, as leader, I think the prudent thing for any chairman that will be confronted with a similar situation in the future is to change venue. You change venue, and then you report. Because if we have changed, for instance, that Thursday, if we have changed our location to Speaker's Conference Room, for instance, or to any other committee room, I'm sure by the time we would have relocated, order would have been restored. I don't think they would have carried the chaotic scenes here to the new committee room. So change of venue when you are confronted with the matters such as this is also very important. because venue plays a great deal when it comes to these matters. Then 3, we must also insist on having a certain number of persons to invite to support the nominees. The present system, the committee set its own guidelines and said every nominee should come with 10. But we've seen situations where nominees have been here with hundreds of people. Even in some cases, more than hundreds of people. And so they mill around the presence of Parliament. And some of these non-accredited members filter through to the committee room and the committee's proceedings. And so when there are issues like this, it's very difficult. Then, finally, for me, Mr. Chairman, we must have time frames for the ranking member to pose his questions. It may be a practice that the ranking member will have open-ended, unlimited time to interrogate these matters. But
why only ranking member?
Well, for the members, for members or leadership, the chairman already has a way of determining how long you could go. So chairman could say that every member, you have 3 substantive questions and 3 follow-ups, or 3 follow-ups, or 3 supplementary. So, a member, you know that you have 6 maximum questions, however you frame it. You could do that in 30 minutes, you could do that in 1 hour, but you have 6 questions. But when it comes to the ranking member, particularly on the committee, and I think on other committees as well, they are given so much power to interrogate matters ad infinitum. And I think that it poses a problem. They have such massive power, so they're able to, and they also have follow-ups to other members' questions. So if you have a ranking member who wants to be grandstanding, you really have problems. Your vetting could take days, and he says he has questions he's asking. So those guidelines should be properly streamlined. This will be my preliminary views on this matter as regarding the question posed to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Leader, we have listened to you, and I had some questions for you, but you have already answered part of the questions. But I will still make a follow-up on your submission. You have indicated the difficulties in controlling, particularly the ranking member during the proceedings, because he could go on and on and on. You have this knowledge, and yet you program to have 8 people on a day. Or if you like, you can even reduce it to 6. And from the calculation that we have done, you are probably a 15-member committee. And if each person were to spend 20 minutes from what you have indicated to us, and that means that it's not possible to, practically possible to have the 8 people vetted. Don't you think that you should have had, when you decided that you were going to have 8 people, you should have had a caucus meeting to determine how much time each person should spend, and also limit, even though that is not the practice, limit the ranking members time in terms of, because you had a long business to do. So if you don't discipline yourselves, and if you don't you don't allocate time to people, then it is practically impossible for you to complete that work. And so you were going to do, you had proposed something which, in my view, you knew that it was not possible to do. And probably that is the reason why the minority side said that they were tired. And they were tired because they had sat there for a very long time. Is there no way I said you have already answered part of it. But don't you think that that particular day, if you had had a caucus meeting, probably you would have done better in terms of programming for the 8 people that you wanted to vet that particular day?
Chairman, thank you very much. It wouldn't have been a caucus meeting, but pre-hearing meeting of the committee. Now, we do that every morning before proceedings commences publicly. In fact, if we leave our offices, normally we do the pre-sitting meetings at the conference room of the First Deputy Speaker, Cook Chair. Often, when we leave there, we still hold pre-sitting meetings in one of the holding rooms here, even before we go public. So these are not matters, you and I, we are here, you know how fluid these matters are. Sometimes you plan to vet 4, and you time yourself that for each candidate you may spend not more than 2 hours. The candidate appears in 5 minutes, the candidate is gone. You see, so it's not cast in stone. Because on days that you think the ranking member will go full haul, he surprises you and says, I have no question. Then as the whip, you want to manage your business. So as much as possible, you want to program as many as is reasonably possible to vet in a day. When we get tired, when exhaustion sets in later in the day, we can offload to the next day. But this one, they just decided. I'm still searching for what caused their decision not to continue with the vetting on Thursday. They won't tell me. But something must have snapped, somewhere. And they just said, no way, they won't continue. Otherwise, we've done vetting 10 p.m., 11 p.m. We know it's the time. After these times, there will be no vetting for this committee for a long time, except for Supreme Court and that thing. So, when the season is here, it's the committee's time to work. You may also not be using the prudent time or the time and resources of Parliament prudently when you know that you could do 6 and yet you program for 3. So these are balancing act. But going forward, I agree with you that where there's so much consensus building, these things are easily manageable. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chief Whip.
Yes, my sister.
What do you think about the minority leader's reaction to the clerk?
They are sisters too. They are family too. They are families. So it's difficult to find the Honorable Afenyomakin take to Auntie Gifty, as we call her, the clerk to the committee, that way, in that manner. Politics. It's politics that will make a brother do that to a sister. Otherwise, there was no need to label her NDC clerk. That tarring, that labeling was totally unnecessary. But politics makes man do the unthinkable sometimes. And so I wasn't surprised when the apology came, because my brother, for him to apologize, he must have really reconsidered the matter and saw that it was proper to apologize. So unfortunate as it was, but Gifty, I've told her, those are also the hazards of a job. When I was suspended, she told me that's the hazards of my job. So I asked her to take it in her stride. It was terrible, very emotionally challenging for her and the family. But when the apology came, I'm sure it settles it.
So you agree that maybe the occupational hazards are getting a bit more hazardous? Would you say that?
I agree with you. I agree with you, especially when by deliberate design we're encouraging more women to get into spaces that were hitherto left for men. Not just the mainstream politicking, but agencies and public services like parliamentary service that help the political machinery to move. You need more women to come in. So when women get to this level, you need to encourage them. You don't have to be so hard on them. You know what I mean. So we want to. They must also be hardy and tough. That this matter shouldn't get to them too much, because they need to be here. They need to work with us.
Mr. Chairman, this kind of disruptive behavior, if I can put it that way, because that day was disruptive, there's never happened on the appointments committee before. Do you agree?
Yes, yes, I agree. It has never, but you see, it's about the decision of a caucus. It's not really the committee. It's the caucus on the committee that took that decision and took the decision to disrupt. So it wasn't one member of that caucus that did it. It was the entire group. They decided that vetting won't continue. They'll disrupt, they'll pull cables, they'll raise chairs, tables. So it was a decision. And you know, in Parliament, when the caucus takes a decision, they are all bound. So we've had chaotic scenes on the floor because a certain caucus took that decision. So it became chaotic. So people should understand how Parliament works. It's not an individual decision. It was a group decision that the group, this is all will do. And they did it, they carried it out. So the damnation and the condemnation must go to the group, not the individual members. Because the individuals were only executing the direction of the group and the group leader. I am sure that if the group leader has yelled that day that it's okay, let's go, I'm sure that marching order, every one of them would have followed.
Chief Whip, you agree that in the 8th Parliament, there were a couple of instances where there were some disruptions. If I recall, about 2 or 3. But there was never a probe, per se, like what Speaker has established now. Do you agree that perhaps this is a time for us to review certain behaviors that are showing up but are not that parliamentary?
Yes. For instance, when the night you and I and we voted for Speaker Gbagbe, you saw when a group decided that one of them should go and chew ballot paper, go and grab the ballot paper. That was the decision by the group. And one person went to execute it. It resulted in chaos. They brought in soldiers, they brought in the police. My leader then, the Honorable Haruna Idrisu, actually requested for an inquiry, but somehow it was ignored. Even an inquiry from outside, because an inquiry was to be about us. So the inquiry should have been by a body from outside. They will appear and give testimony. I was shocked for 2 hours that night. You know, taste as it were, because we're in the forefront. So yes, increasingly in a short span of, should I say 6 years or 5 years, we've had some recurrent sins in Parliament. That isn't good. In Parliament, you disagree, you register your protestation forcefully as it could be, then you walk out. You hold your press conferences as vociferously as you could, as frequently as you could, but you don't practically engage in physical destructions. that is untoward. And so I agree that this inquiry be done, a report to be prepared, and recommendations made to guide our work forward.
So on that day, you didn't come with a preconceived mind. You came dressed in fugu. Fugu is a tough fabric. It's a tough attire. You did not come with a preconceived mind.
You know, I had lost a day. I didn't do any work. And government, you know, when you're a government whip, you also whip from outside. And they're asking you, Rockson, why? Why are you allowing yourselves to? We have nominees to vet, so please focus on government business. So mine was to ensure that government business got done. You know, so I'd come in my workaholic, in my normal, ordinary workaholic attire to soldier through the day. I didn't come with it. If I were to have any, if I had known that there would have been a fight in the evening, I would have been in another attire. But not fugu. But I came just to get the work done.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think moving forward, as you whip the caucus in line, do you agree that maybe you need to confer also with your whip on the other side, who has been a whip for much longer than you, but lately you seem to see some inconsistencies? Unless there's a definition of what a whip should do, maybe when he comes, we'll ask that question.
Yet, you know, Frank and I were university mates too. We're in the same hall, Kisley 4 hall. So we've known each other. We did student politics. So we go back 25 years or more, or even 30 years, because we all entered university in 97. I did a 3-year program, he did a 4-year program. He read a Greek. And so I completed a year before him. And so we've been close since, and we are here again. Like I told you, what happened that day was also not his decision, not his personal decision. It was a group decision that he implemented. When somebody says, I know, ensure that vetting doesn't happen, he himself was shouting that no vetting. It was a group decision. So these are not situations that you can confer and build consensus. They have departed from that long ago. They made their decision that it won't happen, and so it must not happen willy-nilly. So we confer a lot. As I speak to you, when I leave here, we are going to meet and try and think about other things for tomorrow. But that day, oh, no, they were not in the mood. Consensus would had been lost. So.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Majority Chief Whip, was there a discussion regarding the number of people in the room at any point, between at least the leadership of the committee?
If I understand your question regarding members of the committee.
I can clarify.
Yep.
The room was packed. Was there ever a discussion between the leadership of the appointments committee regarding the population of the room, the number of people in the appointments committee room?
For that night, for that period, no. Because people were anxious to get their nominees done, and so they could move. And it was, it was night, so.
Okay.
But
so
there was no such.
Okay.
There was no such problem.
Thank you. You mentioned earlier on that a decision had been taken by the committee to limit numbers to 10. Given the numbers we observed, did you question the failure to adhere to the number of invitees, number one, and the number of persons allowed into the room on the day?
Yes, if I recall, in the course of the day, Chairman kept making the point, especially when nominees were done, when interrogations were completed of a nominee, and names were submitted for acknowledgement. Some were so tall. So chairman will remark, but why? Statutorily, we decided that only 10 persons should follow nominees. Now I have over 50 names to acknowledge. So he kept saying, he kept raising that issue that we should ensure that we stick to the numbers apportioned at a time. What we didn't insist on getting the names of the invitees, because when you say somebody should bring 10, for that 10, you don't know who and who will be brought. But if we design that, let's know the names of the 10 persons that will be invited, then we'll be enforcing that strictly. That's where I also saw a lacuna, a gap. Let's insist on getting the names of the people to be invited.
Thank you.
It helps.
Honorable Chief Whip, was there a consensus on the committee regarding the number of days between when the list was presented to the House and when the vetting of the nominees was to happen?
Yes, the rules governing the statutory publication inviting memo upon submission of names to the Speaker for referral to committees was waived. So if you recall, as soon as the names were released to Speaker or remitted to Speaker, referral was deemed made to the committee, and the committee met and scheduled vetting. So it was waived.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Whip. Do you recall at what time this incident occurred, the scuffle in the room?
No, Chairman, it should be between, I think it began from about 7:30 to 8 p.m. on Thursday. Yeah, 7:30 to 8 p.m. on Thursday.
Is that to say that by about 8 p.m. the majority leader had come in and had adjourned the sittings of the committee?
I may have to check the videos too, but the scuffle had gone on for about 20 to 30 minutes before majority leader came in. He came in, went back, and came back to restore order and made his pronouncement.
Thank you very much. My final question, was there any point during the proceedings of the committee where there was a discussion with yourself and your counterpart on the minority regarding the length of time and rescheduling, given that at this point you'd taken a decision on how many people you were going to vet that day? As the day was unfolding, and given that you still had a backlog, was there a discussion at any point between yourself and your counterpart or among the leadership to reconsider what could be done for the rest of that day?
If I recall properly, even vetting for Thursday, they were against it. Even vetting for Thursday, they were against it initially. But we had to implore them and for them to appreciate the backlog. So they agreed. But the issue was the number to vet for that day. They were not certain, but they were saying that they won't vet all. And I was saying we had a backlog. So as much as possible, let us vet. Eventually they came to say that they may agree to 4. And I told chairman that no, we had work to do. So chairman said, a bird in hand is worth 2 in the bush. So let's proceed with the 4 that they had agreed. They are not in disagreement to vetting. And when we cross the 4, then we can then engage them to add more. Even the 4, we hadn't crossed the 4 when the scuffle happened. So that was what happened.
Thank you. Just to clarify, at the time Honorable Akando came in, how many members had you vetted up until that point?
If I recall, we had done 3 or 4. I need to because we didn't start early. Something happened in the morning, so we had lost so much time in the day. So we didn't start early. I think we had done 3. Akando was supposed to be the 4th, if I recall.
You said something happened in the morning. Can you tell this committee what really happened?
We had an indication that they were having a caucus meeting. And so they slated 10 a.m. for start. We couldn't. They came to say that they were having a caucus meeting. So when they eventually came for us to start, it was quite past the 10 a.m. Or even past 11. Yeah.
Honorable Majority Chief Whip, you are a principal officer in this house.
Yes.
Are you proud of what happened on that day?
Well, not at all. And I take responsibility. So when my punishment came, I took it in good faith. Others disagreed that essentially if punishment were to be meted out, it ought not to be me. But I agree in principle that you need to punish the leaders for what happened. Consensus building failed for that night. If my counterparts were not minded to be insistent on his modus operandi for that day, wouldn't have experienced that. But he insisted. And once they decided to disrupt, raise tables, raise chairs, what can I do? What could I have done? Just to suffer for the punishment. So, but going forward, I believe that that's why I said this work will be a good guide. Whatever recommendations you do will be a good guide going forward. A lot of things ought to be streamlined from now onwards.
You just mentioned that consensus failed. Now, I quite also remember the Honorable Deputy Speaker, the Chair of the Appointment Committee, also confirming what you said, that they have waived, or the committee waived, some of the processes as soon as the letter comes deemed to. Now, if you, the two members, both minority and majority, has agreed that some of these waivers should be accepted, don't you think that when they came to you and said, well, we're not going to do more than this numbers, you could have also given as a way of accepting the minority side than pushing hard that you want to finish the 8 nominees or the 9 nominees on the same day?
Chairman, there's a reasonableness to everything. And in the primariness of what we do, we are 7 people. We had scheduled people, nominees, from the week before. And there was no fault of theirs that we had the vetting for Wednesday was truncated. It ought not to affect those slated for Thursday. So if committee was adding workload to Thursday's work, those originally slated for Thursday ought to be attended to. Okay. 2, when you want to vary earlier agreed positions, you don't do it with fisticuffs and you don't do it like that. We engage, we judge, and you don't do it to people who have been asked to come and are ready to appear. You don't go and tell them that go back and come tomorrow. It's as if the committee is acting whimsically. So if they had disagreements, it should be about the following day's work for me, not work that had already been programmed. That was why I had a disagreement with them, that we had this program for today. So your insistence that we won't continue is political. Nothing other than that. And if I want to agree with you politically, I'll also be damaging myself politically. So I also insisted that we should work. In any case, if you disagree, you walk. You leave us alone. We had quorum to continue with work, but to disrupt it, unacceptable.
Thank you very much, Majority Chief Whip. I think we've had enough of you today. We'll call upon you when the time arises again. And thank you so much for attending upon this committee. You are honorably discharged.
Most grateful, Chair. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh.